In this video, I'm going to introduce to you the differences between human design and Myers-Briggs. If you are a founder and you are looking to introduce a system into your life and your business to help with your leadership, but also you have a team or you have people that come and that you hire that will come and help you within your business, and you want to find a way to be able to marry up people's personalities and find effective and efficient ways to work together, building relationships within the team, building leadership within the team. You might be looking at other resources. If you're from a corporate background like me, you might have heard of Myers-Briggs or similar applications, but also you might have heard about human design. And I get asked this a lot by lots of people that I meet when I speak to them about how I incorporate or how I help my clients incorporate human design, not only into their own leadership, but also to the leadership of their teams. And especially when these people are familiar with Myers-Briggs and other personality tests, but just for the sake of argument, I'm going to call it all of it Myers-Briggs. They're kind of intrigued and sometimes a little bit critical around it, actually, around human design. So this is really interesting. So I just want to dive deep into this. I want to put a caveat that this is my point of view. This is based on my experience leading, coaching, developing women at very senior level within corporate for nearly 30 years. My background in corporate, running my business now as we're recording for the last 9 years. I'm working literally with thousands of women and helping them with their leadership skills and their self-value and their confidence so that they can go out there and be iconic. When I was in corporate, I used to very much help around getting promoted, so promoting themselves and also being more effective and efficient leaders. And to be honest with you, it's the same kind of thing that I do within my business now. I help women to promote themselves, so not be promoted, but promote themselves, and also to support their team. So as always, if you have any questions, please post those questions below. Any aha moments, please follow, like, subscribe, press the bell, all the things, right? So that you can be updated with these videos. We are heading very quickly now to 2,000 subscribers as I record. I'm very excited about hitting that landmark. And look, there are so many amazing resources and tools out there that can help us in our personal development. I'm just picking Myers-Briggs versus human design because it's a little bit like, is it Godzilla versus King Kong, or I don't know, you know, like those films. I kind of think it's the same way. So why do people love either personality tests or engineering or energy systems like Myers-Briggs or human design? Well, I think because in all aspects, it gives us a better understanding of ourselves and our team. And what is a more interesting subject to learn about but yourself, right? How fascinating to learn about yourself and also to learn about your teams. When I used to manage big teams in corporate, I used to love looking at we didn't use Myers-Briggs. We used to use something called insights. But I used to love looking at their insights. I used to love to see what color they were, you know, where their strengths lay, where their development areas lay. It was really, really fascinating. And it's also equally fascinating, of course, even more fascinating when you learn about yourself. And human design, when I first discovered human design, I was like, oh my goodness, this just takes it one freaking step forward, right? Because it's also talking about energy, like how your energy interacts with other people. And at that point within my life, I'd realized what energy was and why it was so important for me to understand my own energy in order to be able to create success within my business and also to attract in opportunities that were going to be able to sustain me in my business and bring pleasure into my business, including, like, you know, high level opportunities and working with incredible clients. So what's the difference between the two? So Myers-Briggs, and Myers-Briggs specifically, it's a psychological framework, and it's basically based on Carl Jung's theories of cognitive functions. So and it's all based on personality preferences. So when you take a test like Myers-Briggs or Insights, for example, which we used to use in the corporation that I used to work in and lead teams in, this is about how you think, how you feel, whether you're an introvert, whether you're an extrovert. I don't actually think there's such a thing as introverts and extroverts, but let's pretend that there is such a thing. And that's what a personality framework like Myers-Briggs would actually allude to. Human design brings in lots of different beautiful ancient wisdom and methodologies: astrology, I Ching, the tree of life, the chakra system, quantum physics, and it's really focused on the energy mechanics and decision making strategy. So it's focused on energy. So the difference that I see is that something like Myers-Briggs explains how you think and behave, and then human design explains how your energy works and how you're designed to make aligned decisions. What I find fascinating is that applications like Myers-Briggs speaks about the head, right? Because we're so conditioned to make decisions with our heads. We weigh up the consequences, we, mull it over, and then we decide either yes or no. But it's basically a guess. We don't know. We can't predict the future. We can only make decisions based on our filters that we have created up until age 7. That's the view that we have of the world, and we can also base our decisions based on past experiences. Well, I had a similar situation like this and said yes, and this happened, and if I said no, then this would happen, right? So you're making these decisions based on past experiences and based on your filters, and that's what applications like Myers-Briggs determines. There's no right or wrong with this. This is just the fact. What human design does is it teaches us to come out of our heads and into our bodies and make decisions with our bodies. So actually what human design actually does is dismisses all of that and says, actually, you're not designed to make decisions with your head. You were designed to make decisions in your body, using your body as a decision-making tool. That is your inner authority. So you're feeling into the decisions. You're making decisions using your body, not your head. Now, there will be a lot of people. So let's weigh up how this would work or not work. There will be a lot of people that would dismiss human design as absolute rubbish, absolute hocus pocus. You're not going to be able to effectively design and manage a team based on their human design. Absolute bullshit. Like, there's psychological tests out there like Myers-Briggs that will give us those answers. Why aren't you using that? And I certainly get challenged a lot about this, especially on LinkedIn. There's no surprise there, especially on that open-minded platform like LinkedIn. And what I would say to that is that, one of the downsides of using human design in your business to be able to support your team in their leadership is that, yes, of course, there might be people in your team that just don't believe in it. They don't believe in astrology. They don't believe in these ancient wisdom and ancient teachings. They fully believe that you make decisions with your head and you don't make decisions with your body. And that's fine. Everyone has a different belief system. And I think with something like this, if you don't believe it, you can't force it down people's throats. You can't talk someone into doing something. That I see that happening all the time, right? Well, just do it. And then the team isn't bought into it, and then it's not part of the culture. You'll never get a culture change with that. One of the things that I would say to you is if you really love human design and believe in those things, and you have people in your team that don't believe in it, then why are they in your team to begin with? Like, why would they be in your team? They're not aligned to your values. They're not aligned to your belief system. Why have you even got them in your team? And of course, the other downside of introducing human design into your business and your team is that there's some people that don't know what their date of birth is. I'm working with a client at the moment, and she believes she was born in a year, like 19 something, and actually she was born in 19 something else, right? So due to the culture that she had come from and the background and the family things that had happened in the family, she had been told that she'd been born in a year. And actually, when we looked at her human design, it was like, that's not you. And then I started to look at other years and actually established that she was born in a different year. And then when she went and questioned her mother, really had a conversation with her, who thank goodness is still around, her mother then confirmed that she was actually born in that year. Interesting, right? And the human design that she had based on her year of birth that she thought was, she was like, that's not me. That's not me. So she was trusting her body to make that decision. And this is someone that, is very high level, high profile. But there will be some people in your team that don't know their time of birth. They'll probably know their date, but they won't know their time. Maybe they've been adopted, or maybe their parents have passed away. Some people, their time of birth is not registered, so they're totally reliant on their parents to give them that information. There are workarounds around that, but what I'm saying is that, if you worked in a big corporation, for example, and managed a massive team, it might be more difficult to introduce that. You'd need to do some more groundwork, so that would bring in a lot more work. Okay, so that's the downside of bringing in human design. The upside of bringing in human design, I always say that if I'd have known about human design when I led high-level leaders and also led a team that did the training and development for the high-level leadership teams within the business, I would have introduced human design like a shot. Because human design really is an incredible tool to understand your energy, how you behave, how you build relationships, how you create success, how you manifest opportunities, how you make aligned decisions, what your purpose is, how your values can then align to your purpose, how you can go out into this world and really value yourself and be confident in yourself. And for me, self-value and confidence are the keys to leadership. And understanding other human beings, having empathy for other human beings. How about introducing that to leadership? Having empathy for other human beings. It's so important. So these are the strengths of Myers-Briggs and similar methodologies, is that they're really simple, they're really accessible, and they are widely used in corporate and personal development. So they have credibility. The limitation of Myers-Briggs is that it can change over time, depending on the mood, depending on the environment, self-perception. And it does. I can tell you now, after years of working with similar applications to Myers-Briggs, that people's scores can change, people's outcomes can change. And I'll tell you something right here, right now. I actually cheated on a test like this. Okay, so in the corporation that I used to work in, we used something called I've just forgotten what it was called, and I was talking about it in a minute. Insights. It's called Insights, and it gives you there's 4 different categories, 4 different colours. It gives you a colour. So I was yellow, and I kept coming up as yellow, and my boss didn't want me to be yellow, and my boss, with all the intention in the world, was like, you know what, if you want to be on the board, if you want to go even higher within this corporation, you need to be red. You need to be a red. Everyone else in her team was a red. I was the only yellow. Yellow was like relationship builder, someone that would come up with ideas. So a thought leader and a creative person, okay, who would come up with the ideas and be able to create something and then hand it over to a team to be able to implement it. Okay, there's some other factors within the yellow, but let's just say that for example. And then the red was like the doer, the one that was like the leader, the one that would drive things forward. Now, what was interesting in the the introduction and the integration of this in the corporate environment, it was a really good system actually, but it had been perceived maybe in a different way that it was meant to be perceived. So what had happened is that people within that organization, senior leaders at a very, very high level, like board level, and their teams, their leaders, had decided that yellow meant that, red meant that, blue meant that, and green meant that. And what they'd done then is that they had graded it. So they'd been like, reds are like what we want in this business. And then the yellows are too fluffy and too like, they're not like to be relied on and they're a bit scatty. The green people are just too caring, so they're never going to make a great leader. And then the blue people are, data driven. So again, they don't make good leaders because they're all about the numbers. Right? So this corporation had then suddenly made a decision as to what these colours were. And actually you had these bricks where you could put it in order as what your colours were. And you have them on your desk so that people would come up to your desk and be able to look at your bricks and then make a snapshot decision on who you were, right? Oh, yellow, oh, can't be trusted. Like red, oh, okay, this is a leader. Blue, oh, too many details, a bit of a nerd, right? This is the culture. But actually not actually embracing that every single color was a leader. They were just leading in a different way. They were showing up in a different way. Okay, so my whole department and culture wanted me to be a red and said that if I was a yellow, I'd never, this is why I wasn't getting promoted. This is why I wasn't getting the opportunities. And I mean, I'd been promoted a lot, obviously, to get to where I was, but we're talking about, like board level, like really getting there. And so I cheated. I took the test. I knew exactly what the answers were in order to be a red, because I'm clever like that and you're clever like that. And I became a red. Just like that, I became a red. Oh my goodness, it was like all Christmases had come at once. I was very, very celebrated, okay? So it just shows you that, first of all, it can change with tests like that, and also you can manipulate it. With your human design, you can't manipulate it because it's based on your exact birth data. Your date of birth is never going to change. So you will always be the same within human design. Now, there are some caveats to that when we start to talk about like the different nuances and, the ways that the stars are aligned, and we really start to get into astrology. And you can really go down the rabbit hole of human design. And this is another thing, is that human design can be very complex. And a lot of people like to make it complex. And I am here to say that human design is really simple. You can just take the things that you need from human design, make them really, really simple. And also it's less mainstream. So, I think automatically you have less intake. I'm sure at one point Myers-Briggs, the framework based on Carl Jung's theory, was not mainstream, and now it's mainstream. So I believe that human design eventually will become mainstream. I think that human design will be one of the tools that will be used when we start to understand energy even more. We start to look at different ways of being, different ways of leadership. And of course, this is happening now that we're in the Aquarian age, where the hierarchical, patriarchal structures are crumbling, and we are leaning more into collaboration, information sharing, working together, helping one another, being nice to one another, being kind to one another. And that is definitely where I see women's leadership going, which is why we are the driving force within this. Why I would say get in here early and really understand human design, because the more you understand about human design, the more of a head start you will have in it. Okay, the more you will be able to build these wonderful teams and to have that support and to really understand you and your team. So that is my quick overview of it. Ask me questions below. I'm here to answer questions, whether you are in a corporate environment, whether you are a founder and you are either running a team or you're looking to bring in a team. Reach out and ask me questions or comment below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one.